All right, guys. This is Michael Lucas's request, also known as Metal Opera. This is Beyond Belief, Petra cover featuring John Schlitt and John Laurie. Let's do this. Dan! John. John.
We're content to pitch our tent when the glory's evident. Seldom do we know the glory came and went. Moving can seem dangerous in this stranger's pilgrimage. Knowing that you can't stand still, you cross the bridge. There's a higher place to go beyond belief, where we reach the next plateau. Beyond belief, and from faith to faith we grow towards the center of the flow, where He beckons us to go. Beyond belief, Whoa. Leap a fight without a net makes us want to hedge our bet. What is never bought until our feet get wet. Whoa, there's a deeper place to go where the road seems hard to hold. He who has begun this work won't let it go. There's a higher place to go beyond belief, where we reach the next plateau. Beyond belief, and from faith to faith we grow towards the center of the flow, where He beckons us to go. Beyond belief. And it takes so long to see the change, but we look around and it seems so strange. We have come so far, but the journey's long, and we once were weak, but now we're strong. There's a higher place to go beyond belief, where we reach the next plateau. Beyond belief, and from faith to faith we grow towards the center of the flow, where He beckons us to go. Beyond belief.
Yeah. All right. Okay, this is so much fun. This is some of the best stuff that I've heard Dan do from like a pedagogical ear. This is my favorite singing that I've heard Dan do. And like seriously, I'm so excited right now because this is like a perfect example of third form and dominant singing, also known as heavy compressed singing, also known as that kind of like power tenor sound, relying on the third formant, which is a combination of like back acoustic, like behind the tongue with the vocal fold buzz. And a lot of the time it's when people go for that, they end up just gripping and screaming, which is hard to do. You'll notice with both of our main vocalists, John and Dan, they always have like a very furrowed brow. Now, as we talk about that as a pedagogical term, my style of singing, my personal style of singing is based all on relaxation to get the full effect of the voice. But this style of singing is not that. This style of singing relies on a very specific tension that holds the voice in place so that you strip down the voice and accentuate very specific resonances to get that sort of screamy-ish sound without completely destroying the vocal folds. And what you really need is you have to rely a lot on the breath pressure, as always, when you're dealing with heavy singing. But in addition, you need to create a tract, a shape of the vocal tract, which is obviously the space between the larynx and the mouth. You have to create a shape that limits certain resonances while allowing that third formant sound. Right, there are 5 main formants in the voice. The third formant sound, which is that buzz, that screamy sound, it's basically like the chest voice sound, right? Ideally, we're always singing in a combination of mix, but it's that chest voice sound, right? So he does it incredibly well here. In other scenarios, I've said, like, don't try to sing like this, but this example that Dan is giving is a great example of excellent third formant dominant singing. And this kind of singing also records really well into mics. And when you're performing with a microphone as well, it sounds really good. I actually have a personal problem where when I speak, that radio voice sound, I'm actually doing it a little bit right now, it's not great for my style of singing. So that's a recent thing I've been developing and realizing. And so, because it works against my technique, but it sounds good in the microphone. That's just another practical example of that third formant dominant vocalism. We'll go through and I'll point out a couple things that Dan is doing that make this style of singing so well in this recording. It's such a good example, rather. I'll say why it's such a good example and how what he's doing to accomplish that. Skip around. So it's light. What he's doing here is light, but he still has that steeliness in his sound. And that's a result. He's always showing his top teeth. Notice that. He's always singing in a spread way, but his tongue is rising in the back. That cuts off a little bit of the resonance, but it allows him to let his larynx comfortably be a little bit raised, which causes a little bit of tension. But as long as he's not gripping these strap muscles here, these stabilizer muscles, he still has that flexibility to flip up into head voice and sing in a lighter way. But showing that teeth is what allows for the voice to blossom in that way. These resonators are so important for accentuating that third formant sound. Now, you can't do that without really supporting with the breath, but it's about also releasing with the breath simultaneously. I love the moments where he flips up into falsetto because it's just a testament to that. He's keeping the resonance up here in the mask. If you make a really cheesy smile and just do a simple hum, you can feel the resonance up in the mask, right? And that's your sign that you're doing it right. If you feel it caught here, it means you're gripping too much in your throat. Dan does a great job at letting that sound stay nice and balanced. And that's how he can achieve this lighter. I've never heard him sing this lightly while maintaining that third formant dominant sound.
Seldom do we know the glory came and went.
And the other side, if you're balancing out with the breath, you can add a little bit of grit here, but it's not as much of a squeeze as it is an allowance. And if the tongue is raised in the back and completely muscularly disconnected from the jaw and the larynx, that grit won't get in the way of your vocalism. So he does that very, very liberally, effectively. And notice he always has this little bit of a furrow with his brow and his eyebrow, right? He always does that. That's a way that's you know those muscles are intertwined with this and this and this and this. If you're trying to teach someone to sing in a released way and they start doing that, it's corresponding with something in their voice. Many singers have that singer face that corresponds with what they're doing for technique to get the desired sound they want. Now, I am not in a position to criticize anyone's vocal choices based on whether it's healthy or sustainable or unhealthy, because at the end of the day, it's an art form, and people choose how to create art with whatever they want. And longevity, let's be honest, longevity in singing, do you really want to be singing, when you're 75? Yeah, probably. I mean, that's like, that's a good thing to do. But if you're trying to make a career for yourself and you're really trying to be unique and do something, I'm not one to judge for, what some pedagogues call like unhealthy, quote unquote, unhealthy vocalism. It is what it is. So yes, if you want to go for the healthiest vocal sound, you don't want to be furrowing your brow and compressing and making some difficult vocal choices. But if you're a studio recording artist, if you make covers on YouTube and you have time between gigs and you're not touring live or anything like that, and you can take time between takes and get the takes you need to make the recording, by all means, do what works for you so that you can create the art you want to create. And that's what I really love about Dan's covers and his songs, is that he does what he wants to do. And he's a great example. He has an incredibly unique voice. And he always has that energy. That energy is part of what allows him to do this so effectively. So, again, that wide open smile, keeping the sound in the back of the mouth while feeling it in the mask. That's part of this style of heavier tenorial singing that works really well in a microphone. Does this sound carry in a big room? John does the same thing. Look at that furrowed brow, but he makes it work. And the shoulders coming up too is a big part of it, right? It's about contorting and creating tension that makes the sound you want. Again, not the healthiest thing, but if you're going for this kind of sound, this is how you do it.
That you can't stand still, you cross the bridge. There's a higher place to go.
Everything he sings is a shade of ah. There's a higher thing to go. When I'm doing it, I'm not used to that. My larynx is coming up. You're getting a little bit of a in the sound. But when you practice it so that the larynx can stay low, right? You lose that squeeze, and that's what Dan does. He has a very relaxed larynx, right? So then you don't get that squeeze. You get that full, reminiscent of chesty sound, but in reality, you're still relying on third formant, which is not. It's the chesty sound without utilizing chest voice, right? So if you try to scream this, you wear yourself out so fast. But he's able to finesse it and kind of fake that chest voice sound, which all tenors do, quite frankly. All successful tenors of any genre fake the chest voice sound. No one ever does like that thing that some people call pulling chest voice. That's a myth. That doesn't actually exist. You leave the chest voice free. You leave the voice free. You let the larynx be relaxed, and you rely on the acoustic properties that mimic that chest voice sound. And as long as it stays relaxed, then you can carry chest voice up. It's the same thing in opera, right? Big voice tenors are just in a state of mix while keeping the voice relaxed and loose. He just happens to compartmentalize it and rely on very specific resonances instead of having a fuller tone, which is preferential for this style, and it has been since like the 70s. So that is what it is. I love the energy of this. We voice teachers like to call that biting the apple, but in reality, it's just using the acoustic principles of the vowel ah, ha, ha, ah. See, I can just fake it. It's not great, but it is. It's the principle of it, right? It's the principle of ah. If you play around with just singing everything to yeah, yeah, if you're trying to sing this way, sing everything on ah and try to keep it as relaxed as possible in the throat. That's all. That's how you make this sound work. It's not about gripping and shoving and screaming. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Ah, 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 ah.
There's a higher place to go. Beyond belief, beyond belief. Where we reach the next plateau. Beyond belief.
I don't like that. I don't like that he has to move his head with the vowels. But again, I'm not an expert in this kind of singing. I'm making observations based on my pedagogical understanding of the voice. So maybe it is the best way to go to do like a diphthong on the word go, or mimic the sound of the vowel o when you're singing in, quite frankly, the opposite way. But like John's go is very pure, and Dan does this.
Beyond belief. Where we reach the next plateau.
Ta ta ta, like an ah to a schwa. Again, pedantic because it doesn't really matter. It doesn't change the interpretation, the audience listening to it. But if you're trying to do this, if you're listening to this analysis to try to get to this style, again, it's all about hazing it with ah. So that's the way he does it. I wouldn't worry too much about manipulating the anatomy. More just focus on keeping in the vowel and keeping it comfortable. The more breath you can get under the sound, that feeling of letting the air release as you have that brightness open, that will make it easier. You hear grit, you hear tension, you hear things, but that's a very calculated tension that's not, the sound doesn't come from the tension, right? If that makes sense. You can't start with tension and get this sound. You have to start with release in order to do it in a way that will last you and won't tire your voice out.
Beyond belief. And from faith to faith we grow towards the center of the flow, where he beckons us to go beyond belief, beyond belief. And it takes so long to see the change, but we look around and it seems so strange.
Now I wish I warmed up today because I kind of want to mess around with this stuff. You can connect it to where that falsetto sound. When I'm warmed up, there's less of a gap there, but bringing that, if you can get a really like a falsetto-y, heady ah, and feel it right in the middle of your face, that's part of that practice that you need to do to find this sound. Keep it all in that place. That was really messy. If I wish I had some time to warm up, but regardless, keeping it in that place, going from we call it a messo di voce in Italian. You can do that. The difference between this and opera is really just the vowel shape. This is more focused on ah. With opera, you focus more on ooh, ooh, and keep the shape there. But it's the same. You can take the same approach to get comfortable in this area, as long as you let the voice, the larynx and the throat stay, relatively relaxed. But right? Something like that. Oh, I'm peaking. Holy shit. Maybe it is making a lot of noise. My examples are not good, but the process I'm describing is the way to pursue this. And I'm making so much emphasis on the pursuit of this type of vocalism because I know there are so many people who want to sing this way, but there are a lot of gatekeepers of the information and the process to get there. And the reason it's difficult is because what you're hearing is so aggressive and harsh, but if you approach it with the intention of being aggressive and harsh, you're just going to blow your voice out and you'll never sing this way, ever. It's all about finding ease through the proper musculature, mostly the breath. Let's keep listening. This is such an awesome song.
We have come so far, but the journey's long. And we once were weak, but now we're strong.
Look at the space.
There's a higher place to go. Beyond belief, beyond belief. Where we reach the next plateau. Beyond belief, beyond belief. And from faith to faith we grow. Towards the center of the flow. Where it beckons us to go. Beyond belief, beyond belief.
Let's go.
There's a higher place to go. Where we reach the next plateau.
Amazing. Dude, I am continually impressed with Dan's music. Like I think Dan has a lot of haters, but I don't think jealousy is the right word. I think it's like a different perception because Dan is in the same genre of so many wonderful artists now who are making content for YouTube that is not of the traditional way. He's a self-publisher, so to speak. He's doing music on his own terms, and he's doing it incredibly well. And there's so much to learn from the way he sings, the stuff he does, and it's not at all related to how I sing, but he's doing it right, and there's so much we can learn from it. Anyway, thank you so much, Metal Opera, for that one, guys. What a blast! I'll see you in the next one.